So we will talk about the polynomial and rational inequalities here. And so what means inequalities? We have four forms of inequalities: less than equal to, bigger than equal to. Yeah, so for the rational inequalities, we have these things too. But we also have one more. We all know that not equal to, we will not discuss here. So, so these are the four forms that we will pay attention to. Okay, so how could we solve the polynomial inequalities? Okay, so I will directly use examples to show you step by step. So the first step is find the zeros of fx equal to x squared plus x minus 2. So how could we find the zeros? Okay, so for this question, we can use what? Factoring. So two numbers multiplied together equal to negative 2, add together equal to the middle 1. So negative 2 does not work. Sorry, so it's 2 and negative 1. So it's x plus 2 and x minus 1 equal to 0. So what do we have? X equal to negative 2 or x equal to 1. Okay, so the next step is what? Label all the zeros on the number line. So negative 1, 1. Okay, do you need to label the special zero here? Do not do it. Okay, just label all the zeros that you have here. Okay, do not put any other numbers on, otherwise students will get confused. Okay, so use test values in each interval to find the signs of each interval. So what does this mean? So we have what? How many intervals? 3 intervals. You have negative infinity, negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to 1, and 1 to what? Infinity. So these are the intervals. Okay. Okay. So then these are the test values. So what means test values? You can find any value in here. So what do you want to choose? Negative 3, negative 2 to 1. If you have a 0 in that interval, always choose 0 because it's the easiest for calculation. 1 to infinity, you can choose 2. Okay, so then we wanted to find f of x, yeah? So f of negative 3, what will be f of negative 3? Plug in negative 3 in here, so negative 3 squared, 9, minus 3, 6. 6 minus 2 is what? 4. You can do it slowly. What will you have for f of 0? Negative 2. f of 2. 4, 2, 4. Yeah. So then we wanted to see the sign. Sign means f negative 3 is 4 is positive, yeah? So bigger than 0, less than 0, bigger than 0. So this means what? Bigger than 0, less than 0, bigger than 0. Okay? Okay, so what do we want for our solution? So if the, so what is the best part of this question? If your test value and give you fx is positive, means the whole interval fx is always positive. The whole interval is always positive, yeah? So what do we want for our solution here? We want a bigger than 0. So which are the two intervals we want? Negative infinity to negative 2 union 1 to infinity. This is our solve the polynomial inequalities. Pretty straightforward, yeah? Okay, so the next one. Okay, so the next one is solve the rational inequalities. Okay, so the rational inequalities is very similar to the polynomial inequalities. There is only one thing you need to be careful. Because it is rational, you have to find the domain. So what is the domain? X minus 1 not equal 0, x is not equal to 1, yeah? Okay, so then you find the zeros of both numerator and denominator. X plus 2 equals 0, so x equal to negative 2. X minus 1 equals 0, so x equal to 1. So similarly, you put all these things on the number line. Okay, so for the rational inequalities, I would strongly recommend you, okay, directly put a circle, open circle, on your domain to remind you, okay, so this one is not in the domain, this one is not in the domain, because a lot of times students will forget, okay? So then what will you do? You choose interval, you choose what? The test value. You find, choose what? Test value. You find fx, and then you find sine, yeah? So what are the intervals? Negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to 1, 1 to infinity again. So test value negative 3, 0, 2. So what will be f of negative 3? Is negative 3 plus 2 and negative 3 minus 1. So it's negative 1 over negative 4. So it's 1 over 4. What do we want? What is the sign? Positive. Actually, later on, you do not need to, to calculate what is the value. So because negative 3 plus 2 is negative. Here is what? Negative. Negative over negative is always what? Positive. You only need to do this, okay? And similarly, you do f over 0, which will be what? 2 over negative 1. That is negative. F of 2, that is 4 over 3. That is what? Positive. So what do we have here? Positive, negative, positive, yeah? Okay, so which part do we want? Less than or equal to 0. So what is less than? Negative 2, 1 is less than. But we want equal. What means equal? You have what? Bracket, yeah? Should we have a bracket here? That is the tricky part. No bracket for the 1, because what? It's always open circle. This is the part that we'll get to, okay? Very, very, very important. Okay, so the next thing that, for your homework, for the sake of your homework, okay, so we wanted to review something. It's called find the zeros of the following, yeah? So basically want to review what will be the factoring, yeah? So 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. So what is the first step? Multiply the leading coefficient with the constant, 2, negative 5, negative 10. So you have to rewrite it, x squared minus 3x minus 10. Yeah, so then what will you do? Okay, so then what will you do from here? You try to factor here. Negative 10 is negative 5 times 2. Yeah, so x minus 5, x plus 2. Okay, so now what do we need to do? Okay, so this is, a very special technique. You divide by what? The leading coefficient here. If it can be simplified, like 2 over 2 is what? 1, then keep it. If it cannot be simplified, you move the denominator in front of the x. So this will be the factoring. Okay, so 2x minus 5 times x plus 1 equal to 0. Of course, you can use all kinds of methods that you learned from your high school. This is one of the methods that, a high school teacher told me here. Okay, so what do you have? 2x minus 5 equals 0. So x equal to what? 5 or 2, or x equal to negative 1. Okay, so this is to factor the, the trinomials with a leading coefficient which is not 1. So the next example is to factor, four terms. You always use what? Combine grouping method. So this is the grouping method. Okay, so what will you do? Combine the first two terms, second two terms together. So x squared times x plus 1, 49, x plus 1, because you have 49 in common. Then you move the x plus 1 in common out. So then you have x squared plus 49. So x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. So x equal to plus or minus 7i. But if this is solved question, then these are all three solutions. But if this is a question in this section, they only want what? Real solutions here, because you have to do it on the what? Number line. So you only have a negative 1. So on the real numbers, you do not real number line. So you do not have 7i or negative 7i. So these were for these two solutions, we do not count here. So we only have a negative 1 as a real solution. Okay, that will be the